Hey there, I'm Arrkay, and today we're going to talk about toys and the TV that sold them to us.
Far off in the infinity universe, the Youth Intergalactic Fight Force is fighting to save the galaxy from total domination of the mighty Earth-Sign Rocket Republic, led by the fearless Goatee with his stupendous sidekicks Ramshot, Blue Harry, and the almighty Pega-Sister, and is under this powerful force to stop Baron Von Brainbear and his Mistress Baroness and his team of evil dudes. Speedbug, Robot, and Cow! Toys on sale now! It's up to you to save the Infinity Galaxy, otherwise leaving us culturally effed!
Each sold separately, batteries not included. May contain parts not suitable for children under 12. May cause pregnancy or blindness. Ask your doctor if MURR is right for you.
Since the mid-60s, children all over North America would wake up on Saturday morning to consume hours and hours of cartoon programming and corn-based cereal. The Saturday morning cartoon became a staple of American society. In the 60s, there spawned some of the first really raw commercialization of kids' cartoons. The music industry was making music-based TV shows around Josie and the Pussycats, the Archies, and the Banana Splits. This is one of the earliest examples of commercialization to sell a specific product branded with the cartoon. This is opposed to an existing product that has the slapped-on image of a cartoon, or a cartoon based on an existing product like the Beatles, Hot Wheels, or Star Trek. The concept is called a toyetic strategy. These basically amounted to half-hour-long commercials. The concept was coined by General Mills in the late 70s after seeing the huge merchandising success of Star Wars. This also came along with the popularization of cable television, which wasn't as limited to what it could show as public stations were. For example, less educational programming and more violence. Things continue on this path into the 70s, but then in the 80s, something new and different happened to these television and toy companies. They begin to acknowledge that females exist. The significance of the massive success of the toy lines for shows like My Little Pony, Care Bears, and Strawberry Shortcake, it meant that more girl-focused programming came on, and more women were seen in these Saturday morning kids shows. It's interesting that gender equality only became an issue when executives realized that they could be selling twice as many products to the other half of the population. This was about the same time as the real toy-focused commercialization began, with shows like G.I. Joe and Transformers in the early 80s, being created specifically to sell toy lines directly from the show. You can tell because the producing companies of these shows were toy companies, and that's always a dead giveaway. No need to call Secret Squirrel on that one. This exploded in Funny Animals when Playmates Toys created the TV series based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1987. A lot of the characters invented for the show were first drafted as potential toy models, many with the help of the comics illustrators, like Bebop and Rocksteady. These characters even made their way to the long-lasting canon of the comics and subsequent cartoons made by different studios. The toy line broke records, creating billions of dollars of revenue. That's billions with a B, for manufacturers in a toy line that spanned 2 decades. They also had cereal, pizza-flavored snacks, pudding, ice cream, canned pasta, fruit snacks, juice, and of course, frozen pizzas. Their musical world tour attracted millions of fans, selling out massive stadiums for some of the worst music you'll ever hear. Playmates Toys is also responsible for merchandise behind shows like Toxic Crusaders, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Space Jam, Monster Rancher, Barnyard Commandos, Darkwing Duck, Earthworm Jim, King Kong, and many others. Ninja Turtles also spawned a huge amount of copycat TV shows, all with funny animals, all aimed at kids to sell toys, like Street Sharks, Road Rovers, Thundercats, and Pound Puppies. There's a lot of alliteration back then. And this is by no means limited to the Western Hemisphere. Anime like Pokemon, Digimon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were all meant to sell card games, video games, and other merchandise. Many of the shows we already talked about were co-produced by Japanese animation studios and merchandise manufacturers. Pokemon is especially influential for being massively successful on television and merchandise, card games, and of course, their endless video game series. The Children's Television Act of 1990 curbed most of the toyetic shows from directly advertising, at least in the United States. Not that it necessarily stopped anyone, it just made them more strategic. This did show the peak and then waning off of these toyetic shows. The FCC continued to regulate children's television into the 90s and 2000s. Recently, you may have heard of the death of Saturday morning cartoons. Don't be alarmed or saddened by this, because on-demand services and internet streaming means that people can get their cartoon fix any day or any time of the week. There are lots of videos on YouTube, and I linked a couple that I like down in the description. This may spell out a new wave of toyetic shows released on Netflix or YouTube, since they're not under the broadcasting jurisdiction of the Children's Television Act. So we might yet see more low-budget, funny animal 20-minute toy commercials on the horizon, unless the FCC comes in and tries to regulate it. What's your favorite show from the 80s or 90s? Were there any we missed this episode? Do you think there's a show we should focus a whole episode on in the future? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Culturally F this week was brought to you by Choke Hazard's limited edition Brain Bear Blimp Face Fortress. Yours for only 4 payments of $29.99. Culturally F was also brought to you by these toys. If you have a topic you want Culturally F to talk about in a future episode, you should tweet at us or Facebook us, or check out Fur Affinity or Weasel if you're into those things. Next time on the show, we'll be looking at furries and the internet, how a small group of gamers became one of the most popular internet hotspots and created the second half to a fandom. See you next time, and remember, always eat Choco Youth Intergalactic Fight Force cereal. Take down Baron von Brain Bear with each delicious bite. A minimal part of a balanced breakfast.